Hi, I'm Snez, personal trainer, healthy lifestyle coach, and your guide to feeling your best. This podcast is a segment from my weekly radio show, Wellbeing Wednesdays, broadcast live on 88.6 Plenty Valley FM. It's all about sharing real, practical tips to help you move more, eat better, and live healthier without the overwhelm. Let's dive in, shall we? Coming up next, going to look at the midlife health check and what every guy over 40 should be paying attention to. And the reality is that a lot of the times the guys generally, and there is a change, I'm seeing a real shift and a trend towards better health and monitoring and making better choices, especially in the younger guys, which is, I think, is a fabulous change and evolution towards the health of men in our lives. But one thing that we do see is that a lot of the men, unless something completely breaks down, that guys would tend to just keep ignoring things. So today there's a couple of things that I think that men over the age of 40 should be paying attention to. And they're things such as muscle mass and the impact of that, and we'll talk about that in a minute, testosterone levels, sleep, heart health, and stress. And these are, paying attention to some of these different areas can make a huge difference in the way that guys are feeling. But also just remembering now, we're starting to see a lot of new research about the foundation that we lay down in our 20s especially is really going to determine how we see out our 60s, which to someone in their 20s feels like that day is never actually going to come. But that time does arrive, and if there's some basic things that we can do when we're younger to look after our health, then that is a really good shift. But also, in saying that, if you are in your 40s and 50s and 60s, that doesn't mean to say that there isn't anything that you cannot do for yourself. There is still a lot that you can do, and the beauty of the human body, and I see this all the time, there's one gentleman that I work with who's 90 and is building muscle mass at this age, and that's the reality, is that our bodies will continue to grow and adapt to any stimulus that we put on it. And that's the beauty of the human body, is that it will always respond to whatever we're putting into our system and however we are moving or not moving. It's continuously adapting, and the goal is to therefore allow it to adapt in a very positive and very healthy way. So when we're looking at muscle mass, after the age of 40, men lose anywhere between 3 to 8% of muscle mass each decade if they're not actively training. Now, if you project that a little bit further on, it does see it will become a significant decline over time. And muscle isn't just about looking fit, it's about the impact that it has on your metabolism, which will impact heart health, things like diabetes, but it's also about your strength and posture, which is going to allow you to live a more independent lifestyle as you get older. And we also do now understand that direct link between healthy muscle mass and bone health. So there are steps that we can take to improve muscle mass, and it's working with some form of strength training, whether that's at home. Even if you have a couple of dumbbells at home, make sure that they're a little bit heavier. There's a lot that you can do. There's a lot on YouTube. There's a lot online that we can follow along with some very basic exercises. We don't always need to go to the gym or see a personal trainer, but if you do have access to that, well, that's going to guide you and make sure that you know exactly what you're doing, make sure that you are exercising effectively. But we don't need to be doing it 4 or 5 times a week. Even 2 sessions a week, 2 30-minute sessions a week is going to make a significant impact, and one that you will actually be able to feel in your body. And focusing on big functional movements such as the squats, the push-ups, the presses, the rows, all those sort of activities are going to be really important. So muscle mass is the first thing to go with, guys, and really important to make sure that we are addressing that. The next thing is testosterone and hormones. So testosterone naturally declines with age, and lower levels of testosterone can mean fatigue, can mean lower muscle mass, more belly fat, and even mood changes in our men. So some of the things that the guys can do that, again, is to lift heavy. The strength training is not only the answer for everything when it comes to women's health, but also with the men as well. Sleep and getting adequate amounts of sleep is very, very important. And so too is managing stress and keeping alcohol low. And unfortunately, stress and alcohol do tend to go hand in hand. But managing stress is something that we need to attend to. We all need to attend to, guys especially. And it's not just necessarily about reducing the stress in our lives, or that's the ideal, but there's some situations that we cannot manage or control. So then it's just about what we do to give ourselves periods of relaxation time so it allows us to better cope with stress, or whether it's getting some help to see our situations differently or to adopt a new mindset around our situation so we don't feel so distressed with any given situation. But these habits are going to help to protect hormone health, and not only, it's not going to stop the decline, but it will definitely be able to counteract some of the changes that come as a result of that. Sleep is the daily reset button. Poor sleep is poor recovery, especially if you are an active guy and doing a lot of strength training, remembering that a lot of the work that you do, a lot of the damage to muscle fibers happens in the gym, but the growth and the improvement comes in the recovery. So if you're not getting enough sleep, you're going to get poor recovery, higher cortisol levels, and it will disrupt your appetite hormones, which basically means that you will feel hungrier more often, and it then will require more food to feel satisfied, because those hormones, ghrelin and leptin, both are affected when our sleep changes. And a lot of the times men can burn the candle at both ends, and there is a huge cost to that. It's less muscle, it's more weight gain, and a higher risk in particular of heart disease. So aiming for 7 to 8 hours of sleep really is a non-negotiable. And I know that there are so many more pressing things that like to take our time to sleep, and sometimes it's just feeling so fatigued and staying, sitting on the couch and just watching TV to the late hours. As much as you can, try and prioritize minimum of 7 hours. And on a couple of days of the week, potentially the weekends, try and get that little bit extra. And the thing is that we can't think of sleep as a luxury. It's really a strategy towards our health as we get older. Heart health is the big one for the guys. Heart disease is still the number one killer of men, and that risk factor climbs after the age of 40 with high blood pressure, cholesterol and weight gain. And the steps that we can take to improve that is to just move daily. Again, it doesn't need to be hugely structured activity. It could be parking further. It could be taking the dog for a walk. It could be walking in your lunch break. It could be getting up 10 minutes earlier, going for a walk, doing some strength training at home, joining a gym even once a week is going to make an important difference. And when you pair that walking or those more cardio related activities with strength, it's going to be really important combination, because we're attending to the muscle mass as well as the heart health. And then stress, this is the last one. Chronic stress keeps cortisol high. It encourages belly fat storage, which is quite toxic in our bodies. It impacts on our metabolism. It also can put us at a risk of type 2 diabetes. And men often ignore it, thinking it's just a natural part of life. It's the dad bod, or there's so many different terms to describe that stage in life. But the reality is that, and I think this is a time where I get quite passionate about men's health, especially because I lost my dad very young due to ill health at the age of 65. And I know that a lot of the times, even we see it in the media, it can be laughed about. And I just don't think it's something that we should be laughing about, because there are some basic things that guys can be doing to make a significant difference. And one of those things is managing stress and understanding that it can slowly wear us down and silently wear us down. So building little stress resets in your day, just thinking about, and I think what's really relevant to the guys to visualize is that we have a capacity for stress. So if you imagine like a car cup. That's how much your body can take or how much you can deal with in a healthy way. When that cup starts to overfill, that's when we feel overwhelmed, out of control with our emotions, and that's where the way that we deal with our stress and the choices that we're making and the way that we're responding starts to deteriorate. So if we can sort of think about these little stress resets throughout the day, and that is to think about it in such a way that when you do have a little reset, whether you go for a walk, or you just have, a cup of tea, or you go for a snack, or you just do some deep breathing at your desk, or you watch a funny TikTok reel or something. But the minute that you just do that little reset, what you actually do, if you can imagine it, you just empty that cup a little bit. And what you do is you're just increasing your ability to cope. So we need to, throughout the day, just empty our cup with little resets and little gaps in the day. So the midlife health check isn't about obsessing over every aspect and having to be a perfectly healthy Superman. It's not about that. It's just about knowing where men are most vulnerable, which is their muscle mass, hormones, sleep, heart issues and stress, and then taking some really practical day-to-day steps that are common sense approaches to making quite a big difference. So for the guys listening or the families supporting the guys, the challenge this week is to pick one of these ideas and put it into action. Maybe it's going to be some strength training, getting to sleep earlier, or having a practice in our day just to chill out. But give that a go. Start with one small step and let's build the health of our men from there. Thanks for joining me on this segment from Wellbeing Wednesdays, as heard live on 88.6 Plenty Valley FM. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with someone who might find it helpful and subscribe so you never miss a show. Want to catch the live broadcast? Well, you can tune in Wednesdays from 12 till 2 p.m. on 88.6 Plenty Valley FM, or find my info on Wellbeing Wednesdays with Snez, the Facebook group. Take care, stay healthy, and remember, it's the little choices every day that create big changes. Talk soon.